Hello everyone, and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hope stood at the edge of the Forrester mansion's expansive garden, her fingertips tracing the delicate petals of a dying rose. The aroma of jasmine filled the air, but it did little to calm the tempest that was rising in her chest. Her decision to support Luna had caused an unexpected chain reaction, and the weight of her decision was now pressing against her like a tangible force. She had always been the one to keep the family together, the one who mediated and smiled through the turbulence, but this time she had chosen a route that threatened to destabilize everything. Luna, with her quiet focus and unwavering commitment, had come to Hope like a lifeline amid a sea of uncertainty. They'd become close over the months, with late-night discussions in the Forrester Creations office revealing shared dreams and buried hurts. Luna's past was a patchwork of tragedy and perseverance, a story she rarely shared but that Hope had grown to treasure. When Luna revealed to her the secret that could destroy the Forrester empire, a treachery hidden deep in the company's financial records, Hope was torn. She could have turned away, safeguarded her family's inheritance, and maintained peace. But something in Luna's eyes, a plea for justice, triggered a part of Hope she had no idea existed. She selected Luna. She chose the truth. The decision did not come lightly. Hope knew the effects would be felt throughout her life, like a stone dropped in quiet water. Her mother, Brooke, would be devastated. Ridge, her stepfather, would consider it a betrayal of the family name. And Bill Spencer, the man who had always been a wild card in her life, would be enraged. He had already gotten wind of the secret, his keen senses picking up on the tension in the air. When he faced Hope in the design studio, his voice was low and menacing. "Hope, you are hiding something. Don't lie to me." She had attempted to deflect, to keep her cool, but Bill's gaze had penetrated her defenses. And then he yelled, his voice bouncing off the glass walls. "You're throwing everything away for her, aren't you?" Hope had not responded. She could not. The secret she was keeping was not only about Luna or the corporation. It was about her. About the part of herself she had suppressed for years, the part that yearned for something more than the life she had created. She cherished her family, her work, and her role as the moral compass of Forrester Creations. But there was a restlessness inside her, a need she couldn't identify until Luna entered her life. Luna represented more than simply a cause. She symbolized Hope's ability to be someone fresh, someone unafraid. The fallout was fast. Ridge requested an emergency family meeting, his face etched with lines of concern and rage. Brooke sat alongside him, her hands tightly clutched and her gaze searching Hope's for an explanation. Steffi, ever the guardian of the Forrester legacy, did not hold back. "Are you siding with an outsider above your own family?" she demanded, her tone as keen as a sword. Hope tried to explain, to convince them that Luna was not the enemy, and that the truth she had discovered needed to be heard. But her words fell on deaf ears. The room was filled with accusations, each one stinging deeper than the last. Bill had the worst reaction. He didn't just rant, he roared. He barged into Hope's office the next day, slamming the door so forcefully that the framed portraits on her desk trembled. "You think you can play a hero, Hope? You think you can demolish everything and walk away unscathed?" His remarks stung, not because they were false, but because they echoed her own concerns. She was putting everything on the line, her family, her reputation, her place in the world, for a truth that might not matter in the end. But she was unable to back down. Not now. Luna, for her part, was a silent source of power. She did not force Hope to behave or demand obedience. She merely stood beside her, lending a hand to support her when the weight became too heavy. But Hope could see how it was affecting her as well. Luna's eyes, once blazing with resolve, were now shaded with worry. She had already lost so much in her life, her family, her house, her sense of security, and now she was sacrificing everything for the sake of justice. Hope admires her bravery, but it also breaks her heart. She wanted to shield Luna from the tempest they both created, but she didn't know how. The secret was a ticking time bomb. Luna learned that someone at Forrester Creations had been siphoning funds for years, transferring money to offshore accounts under false pretenses. The evidence pointed to someone close and trustworthy. Hope could not get herself to believe it was Ridge or Eric, but the evidence was clear. Every late night spent going over paperwork with Luna had strengthened her determination. They had to reveal the truth regardless of who it hurt. However, as they moved closer to the answers, the situation became increasingly hazardous. Anonymous threats began to materialize, including notes shoved under Hope's office door and cryptic emails from untraceable accounts. "Stop digging," one read. "You'll come to regret it." Hope continued. She could not. But fear was constantly present, a shadow on the outskirts of her thoughts. She began peering over her shoulder, jumping at any unexpected sounds. The home, once a source of comfort and family, felt like a maze of secrets. Every interaction with her mother seemed uncomfortable, and every glance from Steffi was fraught with distrust. Even her ex-husband, Liam, noticed a difference in her. "You're not yourself, Hope," he observed one evening, his voice quiet and concerned. "What is going on?" She wanted to tell him to relieve herself, but she couldn't risk it. The secret belonged to both her and Luna. The breaking point occurred on a rainy afternoon, when Hope and Luna were alone in the Forrester library, surrounded by shelves of leather-bound books and the ghosts of the family's past. Luna was pale, her hands trembling as she handed Hope a new piece of evidence, a bank statement that confirmed the worst. The account name was not Ridge or Eric. Hope had never suspected the person, and the treachery felt like a cut to the heart. She stared at the paper, her eyes blurred with tears. How could they accomplish this? She whispered. Luna didn't respond. She did not need to. She simply stretched out, her hand resting gently on Hope's arm. That brief, simple touch was enough to shatter the dam within her. Hope collapsed to the floor, the weight of everything falling down. The secret, the falsehoods, the decision she'd made, it was too much. She grieved for the family she was tearing apart, for the trust she was destroying, and for the future she couldn't imagine. Luna knelt alongside her, holding her while the rain pelted the windows. "I'm sorry," Luna muttered. "I never wanted to hurt you," Hope said, shaking her head. "This is not your fault. I chose this. I choose you." Those words hung in the air, heavy with meaning that Hope hadn't completely grasped until she spoke them. She had chosen Luna, not only her cause but herself. The realization provided both comfort and a new form of suffering. She had no idea what that meant for her future, the life she had always known. All she knew was that she could not go back. The following day, Bill confronted her again. This time he didn't shout. His voice was soft and nearly broken. "I know what you are hiding, Hope, and I know why." He gazed at her with pity, which was worse than rage. "You will lose everything for this. Do you know that?" Hope met his eyes, her heart racing. "Maybe," she replied. "But I can't live with lies anymore." Bill shook his head and turned to go. "You are bolder than I gave you credit for. Or stupid." The days that followed were a flurry of allegations and disclosures. The truth emerged, piece by agonizing piece, and the Forrester family crumbled beneath the weight of it. Ridge and Brooke struggled to save what they could, but trust was lost. Steffi went for Paris, unable to look at Hope without feeling angry. And Bill vanished, his quiet more thunderous than his cries ever were. Hope and Luna remained together throughout it all, their bond strong even as the world around them disintegrated. They continued forward, rebuilding what they could and fighting for a reality that had cost them everything. But late at night, when the mansion was quiet and the stars were the only witnesses, Hope would lie awake, unsure if she had made the right decision. The secret had been her downfall, but it had also set her free. She had lost her family, her home and her certainty, but she had discovered something else. Something frail and real. She'd discovered Luna. And in the end that was sufficient. The air in the small kitchen felt heavy, as if it hadn't been breathed in for years. Luna sat calmly at the table, hands clasped together, her knuckles pallid from the pressure. The quiet ticking of the clock over the doorway filled the silence, with each second dropping like a hammer. She had always dreaded this day, when the truth could no longer be disguised and the past arrived to take what it deserved. She heard footsteps approaching, the uneven kind that belonged to someone stuck between adolescence and adulthood. Finn pulled the door open, his face clouded with perplexity and wrath. He'd always had that expression on his face, ever since he was old enough to see that something in their house didn't match up. At 17, the kid who had once clung to her legs as thunder roared stood upright, his hands quivering but his voice steady enough to strike her heart. "Dad," he muttered, his lips curving over the word, as if it were both a curse and a prayer. "Is that you?" The question smacked into Luna. She blinked and her breath caught. She had rehearsed 1,000 answers in her head over the years, imagining every possible way the truth may come out. But nothing could have prepared her for the way Finn's voice cracked, or the way his eyes sought hers, imploring and demanding in the same breath. "What have you just said?" Luna whispered. Her voice was faint, but not due to a lack of strength, but rather because of the overwhelming weight of what had just occurred. Finn's expression twisted, almost as if he despised the words he had to speak, but he continued on. "I went through your old belongings. The letters. The photos. And there's one picture that shouldn't exist. One of you when you were younger disguised as someone else. Wasn't Mom in those photos? That was you. That man in the photo, whom I mistakenly identified as my father, is you. Is not it?" The room tilted for Luna. She clutched the table's edge. The secret she had hidden, the life she had abandoned, was making its way back to the surface. "Yes," she finally responded, her voice breaking. "It's me." Finn lurched back, shaking his head as if the floor had just been ripped from beneath him. "All these years you were my father? Did you lie to me? You led me to believe you were simply my mother, that Dad had left and was gone. Why are you doing this to me?" The hurt in his words was acute, and it cut deep into Luna. She remembered her previous life. Before Luna, there was William, or Bill as everyone called him, a man who smiled too loudly and loved too profoundly, but was constantly fighting with himself. Bill had tried to be a parent and a husband, but a part of him kept screaming that he wasn't whole. Each night, when the home was silent, Bill looked in the mirror and saw a stranger. The reflection never matched the soul within. Luna had emerged from those nights of sorrow, a fact that could no longer be denied. To survive, Bill had to disappear. However, by departing, he had abandoned his son, or so Finn believed. "I didn't want to hurt you," Luna remarked through tears. "I didn't want you to grow up feeling confused or ashamed of me. I believed if I left that portion behind and gave you a mother instead of a father who couldn't breathe in his own flesh, you could have a chance at a normal existence." Finn spit the phrase out like it was poison. "Do you think any of this seems normal? Do you know what it's like to look in the mirror every day and wonder who you are and where you came from? You led me to assume he abandoned us. You let me despise him. You made me loathe you without realizing it." Luna's tears streamed down her cheeks. She reached out, but Finn backed away, his entire body coiled like a spring. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," she muttered. "I wanted to inform you when you were ready. I've been ready my entire life." He snapped. "You just weren't brave enough to tell me." The charge hurt more than he could imagine. Brave. The term rang hollow to Luna since every decision she had taken was based on fear of rejection, ridicule, and losing her child's affection. But her fear had already come true, and nothing she could say could change that. "I lost everything once," Luna admitted gently. "My family, friends, and even myself. I couldn't lose you either. You were the only reason I kept going." Finn's eyes sparkled, but his jaw stiffened. "You've already lost me. The second you lied, you lost me." The words wounded so deep Luna believed she would disintegrate where she sat. She wanted to scream that she had done her best, and that survival does not always appear pure or noble. But she kept quiet because Finn deserved to feel his sorrow. The silence extended, punctuated only by the tick of the clock and Finn's irregular breathing. Finally he said, "I don't know who you are anymore." "You know me," Luna said softly. "I've been present every day of your life. I cooked your meals, cuddled you when you sobbed, and stayed awake during every fever. I may not be the father you expected, but I have never ceased being your parent. That's who I am." Finn's gaze wavered, confused, but the tempest within him refused to subside. "So why do I feel like I don't have a father at all? Why does it feel like I've been robbed of something I can never get back?" Luna could not respond, because he had actually been robbed. Not by choice or malice, but due to the terrible reality that she could not be both Bill and Luna at the same time. Something has to be lost. And that something was a father's embrace and presence, an aspect of Finn's boyhood that could never be replaced. The boy turned away and gripped the doorknob. "I need time," he explained, his voice low. "I don't know if I can forgive you." And then he was gone. The hush that ensued was terrible. Luna sat at the table, tears staining the wood, and for the first time in years, she felt the entire weight of her decisions come crashing down. She had based her life on the belief that love would suffice, that presence would outweigh reality. But now she saw how fragile her hope had been. Bill was gone. Luna stayed. But in Finn's opinion, neither was sufficient. And so she lingered in that kitchen late into the night, revisiting every memory, every laugh and sorrow, hoping that one day her son would see the love that had always existed beneath them, rather than the lies she told. Until then, she would bear her anguish alone, the sorrow of being both too much and never enough. The next morning, Luna moved through the home like a ghost. Every corner evoked memories, and every sound reminded her of what she had lost overnight. The clinking of a cereal bowl and the crash of a cupboard, once common sounds, now rang with an emptiness she couldn't shake. Finn had not come down for breakfast. She did not expect him to. She made coffee but didn't drink it, peering out the window at the garden. She remembers planting flowers there when Finn was 8 years old. He had ate it, his small hands coated in dirt, his laughter resonating through the air. "We're making life," he stated excitedly, planting seeds in the earth. That recollection stings now. How could someone so innocent, so full of wonder, be forced to bear such a burdensome truth? Upstairs, Finn sat at his desk, staring at the faded image he had taken from her box. Bill's face, her face before Luna, returned his gaze. The likeness was undeniable. He recognized the identical eyes, jaw curve, and uncompromising set of the mouth. Nonetheless, it felt like two separate persons. Perhaps the most painful aspect was that his father had not simply departed. He had changed into someone he couldn't recognize. But as Finn studied the photograph, another thought occurred, one he didn't want to confess. Bill might be gone, but Luna had always been present. She had never walked away, even if it had been easier. She had given up her truth for his comfort, even if it had left her broken. Finn's throat clenched. He wanted to stay angry and drive her away. But a part of him wanted to go downstairs and see her seated at the table, waiting for him. He wasn't sure if he could forgive her yet, but just maybe he should start by listening.